When your breakdown becomes your billion-dollar blueprint. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to tell you about a woman who is rewriting the rules on what it means to rise. Her name is LaTiffney Roary, and she is the founder of the Menu 615 to 404, a thriving food business that was born not in a boardroom, not from venture capital, not from a polished pitch deck, but from a hospital bed, a best friend's cancer diagnosis, and a decision to stop letting pain write the final chapter of her story. LaTiffney is also a licensed life insurance agent across 3 states: Tennessee, Georgia, and Arizona, and a professional tax expert. But more than her credentials, more than her hustle, more than her titles, LaTiffney represents something profound that is happening right now across this country. She embodies the quiet revolution of Black women who are learning to be soft in a world that taught them nothing but survival. And today I want to share what I learned from her because it challenges everything we think we know about entrepreneurship, strength, success, and what it really takes to build an empire when the world keeps telling you that you don't belong. LaTiffney Roary is making the world a better place, one plate at a time, one boundary at a time, one breath at a time. And her story is not just inspiring, it's disruptive, it's revolutionary, and it's exactly what we need to hear right now. Here's what most people believe: they believe that entrepreneurship is about having capital, connections, and a polished business plan. They believe that success comes from grinding harder, hustling longer, and never showing weakness. They believe that Black women, especially, must be twice as good to get half as far. So, softness, rest, boundaries, those are luxuries they cannot afford. But what if I told you that the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the United States, the group generating nearly $100 billion annually, is doing it differently? What if I told you that Black women are not just surviving entrepreneurial challenges, they are leading an explosive surge in business ownership, doubling their rates from 2019 to 2023, and owning 68% of Black led micro businesses, all while facing disproportionate barriers like limited access to capital and the systematic rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs? That's right. Black women own 2.1 million businesses generating $98.3 billion in revenue. And they're doing it not because the system finally opened its doors, but because they kicked down their own. Let me take you back to LaTiffney's story because it's where this counterintuitive truth begins to crystallize. 6 months into working at the Nashville airport, LaTiffney's back pain became unbearable. She went to work one day and the pain brought her to tears. She left and went straight to the emergency room. The diagnosis: sciatica. Her primary care physician took her off work. She saw physical therapists. She saw spinal specialists. She took medications, but nothing seemed to help. Her body was screaming and no one was listening. Then, just weeks later, her best friend was diagnosed with stage 4 small cell squamous cancer in her lungs. LaTiffney stayed by her side for 2 years, never left, watched her funds dwindle, her disability claim denied, her body still screaming in pain, her bank account nearly empty, her hope hanging by a thread. Most people would call that rock bottom. Most people would say she had every reason to give up. Most people would say the odds were stacked too high, the barriers too thick, the pain too deep. But LaTiffney did something unexpected. She decided to move to Atlanta and start selling food again, something she had done before. She changed her diet, she drank fresh juices, she used herbs and exercises to heal her back naturally. No medications, no shots. And she built the menu with 615 to 404 from scratch, all while maintaining her licenses as a life insurance agent and tax professional across 3 states. Now, here's the question I want you to sit with. What if your biggest setback, your health crisis, your job loss, your moment of utter depletion is not the end of your story, but the divine setup for your most profitable pivot. Because that's exactly what's happening across the country right now. Black women are being hit hardest by DEI cuts and mass layoffs. Wells Fargo's 2025 report shows that as diversity programs are eliminated, Black women are losing jobs at alarming rates. And instead of waiting for the system to fix itself, instead of applying for government aid that carries the stigma of poverty they grew up trying to escape, they're investing their severance into startups and stocks. They're creating income streams through new businesses, and their businesses have risen 33% from 2019 to 2023. Let me say that again, 33% growth in just 4 years, in the face of systematic rollback, in the face of economic contraction, in the face of being told once again that they don't belong. This is not a story of victimhood. This is a story of radical self reliance and unshakable faith. This is the story of women who are learning that softness is not weakness. It's a revolutionary act of self preservation and self love. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This sounds inspiring, but is it sustainable? Can you really build an empire on herbs, fresh juice, and a food business started with depleted funds? Here's what the data shows. Southern states like Georgia, where LaTiffney moved, rank among the highest for women owned small businesses. And it's not just the United States. In Canada, the Black Entrepreneurship Program, launched in 2021, has supported over 24,000 Black entrepreneurs with $189 million in investment, including $70 million in loans. These programs provide mentorship, training, and access to networks that help entrepreneurs start and scale their businesses. Women owned small and medium enterprises in Canada hit 17.8% of all businesses by 2023, generating over $90 billion. What this tells us is that when Black women, and particularly Black women entrepreneurs, are given access to resources, mentorship, and community, they don't just survive, they thrive. They create jobs, they expand markets, they strengthen entire economies. But here's the twist: LaTiffney didn't wait for a program, she didn't wait for a loan, she didn't wait for permission. She leveraged what she already had, her skills, her licenses, her ability to cook, and she built multiple revenue streams. She combined food, insurance, and tax expertise into a resilient business model that could weather any storm. And that's the first key insight I want to leave you with today. Embrace health driven pivots. LaTiffney turned a personal health crisis into a business opportunity through natural wellness and food ventures. She proved that entrepreneurial success starts with self care and resilience. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot build an empire on a broken foundation. Healing yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually is not a detour from your purpose, it is the pathway to it. When LaTiffney changed her diet, when she started drinking fresh juices, when she moved her body in ways that honored it instead of punishing it, she wasn't just healing her sciatica. She was reclaiming her power. She was saying, my body matters. My peace matters. My life matters. And I will not sacrifice myself on the altar of productivity ever again. The second insight is this: leverage multiple revenue streams. Black women entrepreneurs thrive by combining diverse income sources. LaTiffney didn't just sell food, she maintained her insurance licenses across Tennessee, Georgia, and Arizona. She kept her tax professional credentials active. She created a safety net for herself, not by relying on one big break, but by building several small, steady streams that could sustain her through uncertainty. This mirrors what's happening nationally. The 33% rise in Black women owned businesses amid job losses isn't about one viral product or one lucky investor. It's about women who are diversifying, innovating, and refusing to put all their eggs in one basket. And the third insight, overcome barriers with community and innovation. Programs like Canada's Black Entrepreneurship Program show us that access to mentorship, loans, and networks can scale businesses exponentially. $70 million approved for over 24,000 entrepreneurs. That's the power of collective investment in Black excellence. But even without formal programs, LaTiffney found her community. She found her people. She found the customers who believed in her food, the clients who trusted her with their insurance and taxes, the friends who held her up when her back was breaking and her heart was heavy. Now let's zoom out for a moment because what LaTiffney's story reveals is something much bigger than one woman's entrepreneurial journey. It reveals a fundamental truth about how we define strength, success, and survival. We live in a culture that glorifies the grind, that tells us to hustle harder, sleep less, sacrifice more. We live in a culture that tells Black women, in particular, that they must be superhuman to be seen as human, that they must carry everyone else's burdens while carrying their own, that softness, rest, and boundaries are luxuries they cannot afford. But what if that's the lie that's keeping us stuck? What if the real revolution is not in doing more, but in being more intentional about what we do and why we do it? LaTiffney didn't heal her sciatica by pushing through the pain. She healed it by changing her diet, by drinking fresh juices, by moving her body in ways that honored it instead of punishing it. She didn't build her business by working herself into the ground. She built it by saying no to what wasn't serving her, by setting boundaries around her time and energy, by choosing herself, even when the world told her she didn't have that right. This is what the soft girl era is all about. It's the sacred pause Black women have been waiting for. It's not a trend, it's a lifestyle rebellion, a deep exhale from the superwoman script, a quiet but powerful return to softness, rest, self trust, and radical joy. And here's the most counterintuitive part: this softness, this rest, this radical self prioritization, it's not making Black women less successful. It's making them the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the country. Because when you stop running on empty, when you stop saying yes to everything and everyone, when you start protecting your peace as a practice, you create space for clarity. You create space for creativity. You create space for the kind of strategic thinking that builds sustainable, scalable, profitable businesses. LaTiffney Roary is living proof of this. She turned her pain into purpose. She turned her health crisis into a wellness business. She turned her caregiving into a testament of love and loyalty. And she did it all while learning to be soft in a world that taught her survival. But let's be real for a moment. This isn't easy. Choosing softness in a world that rewards hustle, that takes courage. Setting boundaries when you've been taught that your value is in your service to others, that takes radical self love. Saying no when you've been conditioned to say yes, that takes practice, intention, and a willingness to disappoint people who have grown comfortable with your self sacrifice. And yet, Black women are doing it every single day. They're walking away from jobs that don't value them. They're starting businesses that honor their gifts. They're creating lives that prioritize joy, rest, and peace. They're redefining what success looks like, and they're doing it without apology. So here's my question for you. What if your biggest setback, like a health crisis or job loss, is the divine setup for your most profitable pivot? What if the thing you're running from is actually the thing you're meant to run toward? I want you to do something right now. I want you to think about three skills or passions you've sidelined. Maybe it's cooking like LaTiffney. Maybe it's writing, coaching, designing, organizing. Maybe it's something you used to love, but told yourself wasn't practical, wasn't profitable, wasn't worth your time. Think about them and then commit to one micro action this week: one juice cleanse, one food pop up, one Instagram post, one conversation with someone who believes in you, one small step toward building your resilient empire. Because here's the truth: the world doesn't need more burned out, overextended, exhausted Black women trying to prove they're strong enough. The world needs more Black women who know they're already enough, who choose softness without apology, who build businesses that honor their bodies, their boundaries, and their brilliance. LaTiffney didn't wait for the perfect moment. She didn't wait for the pain to stop. She didn't wait for someone to give her permission. She started where she was with what she had, and she built something beautiful, something sustainable, something that serves her and her community. And if she can do it, so can you. So I'm going to leave you with this: stop waiting for the breakdown to end before you start building. Your breakdown is your blueprint. Your pain is your portal. Your setback is your setup. The question is not whether you're strong enough. The question is, are you brave enough to be soft? Are you courageous enough to rest? Are you bold enough to choose yourself? Because when you do, when you finally decide that your peace is non negotiable, that your joy is essential, that your softness is sacred, that's when the real magic happens. That's when the empire gets built. That's when you stop surviving and start thriving. LaTiffney Roary is proof. The 2.1 million Black women business owners are proof. The $98.3 billion in revenue is proof. Now it's your turn. Go build your resilient empire. Go protect your peace. Go choose softness. Go rewrite the rules. And when the world tells you that you're not strong enough, that you're not doing enough, that you're not enough, remember LaTiffney, remember the juice cleanse, remember the food business built from a hospital bed, remember the woman who turned her breakdown into her $1 billion blueprint, and then go do the same. Thank you.